Hey, this is Eytan Rund on another short video about what frequently asked questions people ask me, and I'm going to try to address one of the most explosive topics in Israel, which is the West Bank or Judah and Samaria, or call it whatever you want. I'm going to try addressing this thing now, and I'm going to try to explain to you that it's a lot more complex than you can see on CNN and CBS and Sky News and Fox News. And the average person is not educated enough to understand if numbers he's being told are correct or if different things he's being told are correct. And that's what I'm going to try to do now. I'm going to try to address the topic in a very complex way. I would highly suggest that before you guys watch this video or right after it, you guys watch a different one about how to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because a variety of things will be available to us. A whole toolbox about what to do with the West Bank will only be available once we take the violence down. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we get violence down? Once we get violence down, we can ask ourselves questions. Okay, we have a very wide range of different toolbox and different set of things that we might be able to do, which right now we don't have. So, okay, so this is a map of the West Bank. Okay, it's a lot more complex. Meaning, we as Americans think, okay, let's just circle in the areas. All the blues on this map, by the way, are Jews. All the browns, by the way, are Arabs. And we can see how intermingled it is. Meaning, it's not like all the Jews live in one little section, and you can just annex that little section and do part of the rest. It's not like, okay, it's the Jews live all over the place, and Arabs live all over the place. Now, a lot of things are a matter of perspective. Meaning, a Jew living in the middle of I don't know, Kiryat Arba might be saying, "Oh my God, I'm surrounded by Arabs." But if you would zoom your camera out, you would see that there are actually Jewish settlements all around it. I gave a really bad example now because it's not the case in Kiryat Arba. But the same thing would go to Rosh Tzurim. A guy from Rosh Tzurim might say, "Oh my God, I'm surrounded by Arabs." And if you zoom a little bit out, you'll suddenly see that that the Arab village next to him, Chibet Karameh, is surrounded by thousands and thousands of Jews. Meaning a lot of things are a matter of perspective, and the how intermingled it is something that we don't usually see. Now, I'm going to put the Israeli dilemma in a nutshell. Okay, we in Israel have a discourse of fear. Meaning, I'm not even talking about the Palestinian agenda, aspirations, thoughts, which are a lot more clear and consistent. Meaning, this whole thing should be Palestinian land. There shouldn't be any Jews living here. A lot of the Palestinians also believe that there shouldn't be any Palestinians living in Israel. Ashdod, Ashkelon, Haifa, Tzfat, Tveria, Tel Aviv. A lot of them were Arab cities until 1948, and a lot of the narrative of Palestinians is that Jews shouldn't live anywhere here in Israel right now. But even if we just look at them at the West Bank, it's very clear that the Palestinians would believe that Jews should not live here. If you look at the Israeli discourse, it's a lot more interesting, because we have the right and we have the left in Israel, which are very, very, very fighting and struggling over this topic for a very long time. Okay, so I'll give you first the Israeli left. The Israeli left says, "Oh my God, this is scary. If we annex the West Bank, look how many Arabs live here." Now, all these brown and red dots on the map are Arab villages. Any way you look at it, if we annex the territory, we're going to have to annex the population too. Now, there are a lot of assumptions and arguments about how many Arabs live in the West Bank. If it's 1.5 or 1.6 or 2.7 million, I'll make a little footnote here. You realize a million people gap, if you're only counting 2 million people, is not an accident. Meaning somebody's either bumping numbers way up or bumping numbers way down. But let's even go with the minimalist. Let's say there's only 1.6 million Arabs living in the West Bank. If we annex the West Bank tomorrow, Israel's biggest party in the Knesset will be an Arab party, meaning our prime minister's name is not going to be Benjamin Netanyahu or Yair Lapid or Avi Gabay. Our prime minister's name is going to be Ayman Uda, okay, who's the head of the biggest Arab party in the Israeli parliament. Many Israelis fear this, and they think that if we would have an Israeli party in the parliament, that would be the end of Israel. So it would cease to exist as a Jewish state. It wouldn't be Jewish anymore. It would very, very, very quickly find its way to destruction or civil war, meaning very large, within the 90%, in my opinion. I'd probably say within 95% of the Israeli public are not willing to cope with a Israeli Arab being prime minister, being a minister of defense in Israel. Not yet. Okay. So the Israeli left is afraid of demography. They say we got to get the hell out of the West Bank, because if we don't, we're going to have a demographic problem here that's going to be enormous. By the way, if the number of Palestinians is not 1.6 but 2.7 million Arabs, that just amplifies the problem I'm giving now. Meaning it's just going to be even more. There'll be 45% and not 35% of the Israeli public. Same thing. It doesn't matter. It's a huge problem. We have to get out of there, says the Israeli left. It's not smart to stay there. The Israeli right say, yeah, but if you try the same thing twice, we tried leaving the Gaza Strip. We can never leave the West Bank. If you look at the distance between the West Bank and the Israeli metropolitan area of Tel Aviv, it's only a few miles. If you look at the only international airport we have in Israel, it's only a few miles from the West Bank. If we would get out of the West Bank, what would the consequences be? Meaning, we tried that before already. We tried leaving the Gaza Strip, and what we got in return was a huge outburst of number of rockets. We can't leave the West Bank. Imagine having Hamas version 2.0 or Gaza version 2.0, not in the Gaza Strip in the southern part of Israel, but like dead smack in the middle of Israel, where even cheap rockets can isolate, attack an airport, our international airport, Tel Aviv, our center of population of people living in this country. Will be under missile threat or under rocket threat? No, we can't leave, says the Israeli right. And the discourse we have now is a discourse of fear, meaning people on the Israeli left are petrified and scared of demography. They're like, no, we have to leave. And people on the Israeli right are scared of the consequences of leaving. And they're really, or in other words, we can't leave. Okay, we have to stay. So the Israeli public right now is very torn. A lot of it is centralized, in my opinion, meaning even people on the right understand that there's demography, and even people on the Israeli left understand that there's a consequence to leaving, and the consequence is a risk that many people do not want to take. Many people in America have a problem that they take only one side, meaning, oh, I think we should leave, or oh, I think we should stay, without understanding there's a consequence to taking a step. Meaning, if we annex the West Bank, lovely, great. If you believe that should be the case, awesome. But there's a people that come with it. And that would mean that our demography in Israel would shift from 21% Arabs to 35% Arabs within 1 year. And that's a very big step. The biggest party in the Knesset will, again, be an Arab party. Okay? On the Israeli left, or on the world left, there are many people who say, just get out of the West Bank. They don't understand the security implications. We tried, Einstein said once, trying the same experiment twice and expecting a different result is a great, way to see if someone is not the brightest tool, is not so smart. Okay, it's absolute ludicrous, I think he said. Okay, so we tried leaving a certain area. We tried that in 2005, and in July, the end of July, we left the West Bank, and what we got is a huge outburst on the number of rockets, just quadrupled itself, and went 5 times fold over. Many people don't want to see that happening 5 minutes away from the center populations of Israel. So we right now have a problem where, if I would put it in 2 sentences, I'd say we have to stay, but we can't stay, or we have to leave, but we can't leave the West Bank. I'll say something really interesting. Politicians on the Israeli right and left promise that they're going to do steps in the directions that their electorate right would want. People on the Israeli right promise they're going to annex the West Bank. Not so much. Once they get in power, they understand the implications, and they realize it's got a lot of problems, so they keep themselves away from doing it. The Israeli Likud party has been in control for the past 30 years almost, and they haven't annexed the West Bank. Okay, and the same thing goes to people on the Israeli left. They say we're going to leave the Israeli West Bank. I think that after 2005, when we left the Gaza Strip and realized there was lots of rockets all over, if somebody would say, I'm going to leave and trust international guarantees, people would raise an eyebrow and say, that's not serious. We, the Israeli public, don't buy that. So this is a little short video to try to explain the complexity. I'm going to give a little movie soon, hopefully coming out, explaining one stage deeper why it's even more complex, trying to explain the Israeli psyche behind people who want to annex the West Bank or want to leave the West Bank. So thank you very much for watching, and if you guys want to subscribe to my channel, you guys are welcome to. If you guys have any comments, write them on the little boxes below, and thank you very, very much for watching.